How y'all doing? Preface this video with I am coming from this with an old school mentality and very little knowledge on the subject. So I may not know what the hell I'm talking about and I'm just talking fluff. But I hope that I can put my point across in a way where people who do know what they're talking about can go, I get what you're saying there, son. That is pretty aggro. Okay? Or, I just want to try to, as long as I can get my frustration across, I'm hoping that someone can at least translate it if I'm completely off. Okay? So just note that. All right? I have said in prior videos, I haven't done any real hardcore coding since university. Okay, hardcore code. I've messed around with scripts and fiddled around with code here and there, Raspberry Pi stuff, tweaked bits and bobs that I've found, or reworked servers to do bits and bobs that they weren't necessarily intended to do, or were running modded things to do other fluff. I remember working a server to run an old version of a map, and that all had to be tweaked to remap where everything was on the map, otherwise collision detection and all that kind of stuff. I can't really think of how to word it in a really simple way, but imagine there's a map which is a layer, and then there's all the collision detection and stuff that has to go underneath that to say where things are, and then none of it lined up, so like tweaking stuff like that. Right, so I haven't done anything particularly hardcore from scratch in quite some time. Some people would argue that I have done codey stuff, but not hugely. So, and things have changed a lot since I last messed around with the codey codes. The internet has changed a lot. The things that you can do on the tinterwebs has changed a lot. The things that you can do on phones and things have largely changed a lot. I mean, the hardware itself has just gotten faster and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you could have probably gotten away with a lot of the stuff that you do now on devices way back in the day when I was last actually messing around with stuff. But now it's considered normal to do things that were like, oh, you do that on a whatever back in the day. So, I am going to be picking on Apple, although this isn't just about Apple, but Apple is kind of the one that I'm getting a bit aggro with at the moment. I'm sure that Android has many of the same issues. Windows likely has much of the same issue. Linux. Dude, Linux works on everything, but there are still times when things just don't work how they should do. But I excuse the bedroom coder. I don't excuse big boy corporations. So, universal binaries. I'm annoyed by them because they're not as universal as they were once made out they were going to be. Apple is a company that makes multiple devices running slight variations of the same software. Not entirely true, but an iPad is a big iPhone. Okay? And I remember once upon a time, I could be completely wrong about this, but I'm sure once upon a time, Apple said you will be able to have a universal binary, meaning that if you run it on an iPhone, it will do this. If you run it on an iPad, it will do this. Bickety bam, job done. Apple also does tvOS, and they're now their main operating system also runs on ARM too. So ARM being the mobile processor that's in the machines. They've got the what are they even called? What chip are they on? Like they're on the M1 now, I think. I don't know what devices that's in, but it's an ARM processor, the ARM being the architecture. So you've got like x86, blah blah blah, and ARM and cheese. ARM is what you generally find in phones and like Raspberry Pis and stuff like that. And you go, why can't Windows run on Raspberry Pis? Because there wasn't an ARM variant or a full-blown ARM variant. You were trying to run something on a different architecture. Apple have this thing about swapping architectures every now and then, and their desktops now run on mobile chips. The iPhone obviously runs on a mobile chip. The iPad runs on a mobile chip, a low power mobile. I say low power mobile chip, but I mean power as in consumption, not horsepower. and the tvOS, I imagine, is a variant of iOS or something like that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They have all these different devices, but my gods, I can't seem to find a universal binary to save my goddamn life. What do you mean you can't find a universal binary to save your life? I swear, I will say it again, Apple said one binary to rule them all. In so many words. Right? One app for iOS, iPad, now we've got tvOS, and all that kind of stuff. Why the hell, though, can companies not pull their goddamn fingers out and actually make it so that if I buy an app on my phone, it should work on my iPad and should then work on an Apple TV or a Mac if it's a desktop-y app too? Like, let's say it could run on, let's say Twitter, right? Twitter app. The Twitter app for M1 Max is the same goddamn app from the Apple App Store, the iOS App Store, the iTunes App Store, what the hell ever App Store it is. It's the same damned binary that does, it works on this one, and it works on this one, and it works on this one, and depending on what you run it on is how it scales and does all of the fluff. Okay? That could be, the scaly bits, the UI changey bits, could be a lot more faff than I seem to think it is, but I'm sure they gave people the tools to do it a long time ago. Could just be some magic libraries, like for adding in controller support or whatever. Bundle in these libraries, there's the large chunk of the work is done for you because you've used good libraries. So, it just infuriates me. I go to buy an app on the iPhone, and there's an iPhone version of it. I'm not a hardcore iPhone user. I've got to throw that out there. I've been away from iPhone for a billion years. I've only just come back to iOS because my children got iPads for Christmas. I needed something to do the parental control thingamy and all that and whatever. I buy an app on the damned phone, and then there's an HD version on the sodding iPad for the same fucking price. Oh yeah, you want to play it on the phone? Yeah, 20 quid. You want to play that exact same thing on there? That's going to be another 20 quid. Okay. Why? Like I said, I'm sure there's like some magic jiggery pokery you can do so that there's one binary to rule them all, and it will work on both. You don't need to have a specific version for both. It's iOS after all. I'm sure there's a library you can tack in there and some jiggery pokery you can do with your UI to make it scale to fit. I am sick to bollocks as well. iPad has been out for how long now? My children were like wee babbies when the iPad came out. They're now not wee babbies anymore. They're in secondary school. They're in high school now, right? Why is it that some apps still have to do that multiplied scaly thingy? Like, they don't. It doesn't just go, oh, I'm on an iPad. Fill up the iPad. It loads up the damn phone thing like that big on the screen, and you go, boop, and it goes, and it looks like shite. You've given me a high-res display, a big high-res display, and your apps don't scale properly. Why? How lazy are you to not do the jiggery-pokery to make that work? How much extra work is that for you to do? And by the way, if you've had an app on the iPhone and the iPad for however long the iPad has been out for, I don't want to hear any excuses that it's a lot of work because you've been on the store for years. Like, if you would say, oh yeah, mate, well, it's going to take like XYZ amount of time to do the thing. Mate, you've been on the App Store for a decade. Where's the binary? Even if you had an intern fiddle around with it for a couple of minutes, every week for the last, you should have a damn binary ready. What are you doing? It makes these devices look completely jank, and it makes your companies look worse. Example, Meta, Instagram. Why is it still the mobile version? The tvOS, right? tvOS. Again, I'm not a huge. I couldn't give a flying about Apple TV. To be honest, my TV Dewberry of choice is an Nvidia Shield, but you know, why is it? And I suppose in the same case with the Shield, why is it that some stuff just you can't seem to get control pads to work? I am sure there is a library included in whatever it is that you're coding with. I'm imagining, is it still Xcode for iPhone and iPad and tvOS or whatever? I'm sure Apple has tossed in some libraries that you can use to just go, yeah mate, enable control pad support. And if it's got control pad support, why isn't it on the telly? Why isn't it included on the App Store, on the Apple TV? Why? Like, an actual, like, console-y game that I can hook up a control pad to on an iPad or an iPhone isn't on the telly. What are you doing? This is Apple. You've got buckets of money. Make these people do it. There's something, it makes me physically sick when I see people use an iPad that's like running a phone app and they've just done the scale big option on it. It's terrible. To know that there are games on the iPhone and the iPad that can use controls but will probably never end up on the telly, mental to me. How much more work is it to actually do? If you're developing an app for these platforms, why are you only choosing to put it on just the phone? Why are you charging people twice for the same app just because you've scaled the UI a bit differently? Why? Talking to a mate about it this evening, and he's like, well, you know, if you make people double dip, then they're never going to leave, are they? You want them to stay on your platform. It's like, yeah, but the people that are making the double dip, it's not Apple. It's people developing on Apple's platform, or developing for Apple's platform. Realistically, it would actually put me off using the platform, because I don't want to pay twice for an app just because I've gone from a screen this yay big to a screen that's like littler. You know, that's like we're saying, oh yeah mate, well if you're running Windows in 640 by 480 or 8 by 6, as soon as you go up to HD you need to buy a different app. No. I don't know, it really, really, really rags me off, because I see potential in all these platforms and they're just ruined for stupid little reasons. I'm sure, am I imagining it, that Apple talked? They mentioned it years ago, the universal binary. The binary that would work on both the iPad and the iPhone. Why is it that so many mainstream apps don't do you buy this one, you get that one? It blows my damned mind. It really, really, really does. What was the other one? One of my mates said, yeah, it's really bad because you can't use the Apple Fitness stuff on iPads. You can't use an Apple Watch if you've just got an iPad, because you can't. There's no Apple Fit on the iPad, or what is it, Apple Health or whatever it is, which is completely ridiculous. The idea that yes, your iPhone can track the stuff as well, but if you've got an iPad, just have it say if you haven't got a watch, it's not going to work. But to take the option away completely because it's not going to be in your pocket all the time is it's a bit of a ham-fisted way of doing it. Don't get me started on the fact the iPad doesn't have a calculator on it. I know it seems like a really silly thing to complain about, because it'd be a massive calculator. Dude, there are novelty calculators out there. I'm sure you could do something. Just really, really, really busts my sweet to think that there's so much potential in these devices and they are being ruined by greed, laziness. But again, I don't quite understand the amount of work necessary to do it. I just think that if an app has been on the store for a decade, it should probably have a universal binary by now, or an iPad binary by now, or I don't know, how long has Apple TV, tvOS been a thing? Like the iteration that we have now, where you can install apps and play games and whatever on it. What, like, how long has that been a thing? You know, I like Android and iOS. I just think that sometimes the mentality that we have of saying, yeah, but this is what you get for XYZ reason, insert random like fluff piece here, like, you know, oh, it's a walled garden, but it's well secure, isn't it? No, it isn't. Just I hear the same fluff touted all the time. I realistically think the reason that a lot of this stuff gets locked down is just because it's comfortable. It's what people are used to. That's why iOS looks ancient, and in some places looks really messy, and other places it looks hardcore polished like it used to. That was kind of the point. It was supposed to be polished and simple, and now you've got things buried under 50 gajillion layers. By the way, if you want to try Android, don't compare £200 Android phone to £700 iPhone. It's ridiculous. Stop doing it. It's not a fair comparison at all. And don't compare like cheap Samsung phone to iPhone 13 Pro Max, big one, whatever it is. Again, stupid. If you want to know what Android is like, get a Pixel, or what used to be called there used to be a Nexus. If you want to know what Android is like, you get a Nexus. You get a Pixel. That's what you get now. You get a Pixel. And realistically, if you want to compare the iPhone 13 and a Pixel, so Android to Apple, Pixel 6, iPhone 13. That's where you're going to get your fairest comparison. The current raw from Google Android phone, raw from Apple iPhone, because Apple don't give their tech out to anyone else, I don't think. God, that'd be a weird day in ever if Apple said, hey, yo, random Chinese company, here you go, customize iOS for your Nokia Engage 2, 3, whatever. That's not a thing. I just picked out random companies there. Just sorry. Why is it a thing? Why is that so? Why is it so difficult? Why don't they add in controller support for a load of stuff? Why isn't more stuff on tvOS? Because you look, I mean, I looked on the iPad as an example. I like Monster Hunter, and it turns out if you've got that Apple Arcade thing, which is their loads of games subscription service thing, my children would love that, right? They have Monster Hunter Stories, I think, the cartoony RPG version of Monster Hunter that came out on the 3DS. They have that on iPad, or like iPhone, or it might be on iPad. I think it's definitely on iPhone, right? They have that on iPhone. Well, it's already a handheld game, and the second one's already out on PC with control pad support. Why don't we have controller support on iOS? And if we do, why isn't it on the Apple TV? I think you're missing something here. There's something not quite right. You know, Genshin Impact. I'm not complaining to Apple. It's a lot. These are third-party publishers. Why isn't Genshin Impact on the Apple TV with controller support? Why? It's dumb. Mages. Steins Gate. I like visual novels. I quite like Steins Gate. Right? You can get Steins Gate in English on the iOS store. I think you can get the Japanese version and patch it on Android, but you can get Steins Gate on your phone. Right? But then you have to buy Steins Gate HD for your iPad. And there are already versions out there that work, I don't necessarily know on iPad or whatever, but there are versions of Steins Gate out there that work with control pads. So, why isn't there a variant of that on iOS and on the telly? I just think these companies are really missing out. And the way they're doing it is really, really cheese, man. It's just not cool. I don't want to pay 25 quid for an app on an iPhone and then have to pay 25 quid for an app on the iPad. It's one of the things that really pissed me off when we got the kids iPads. Because it's like, well, if I want to buy the app that they want to thingy, the version that I have access to on an iPhone isn't the one that they can have on the iPad. It's a completely separate binary. Why? Does this frustrate anyone else? Or is it just me? I'm going to head off. I've been ranting now for about a fucking 1,000 years about something that no one cares about. It just seems really odd for such an expensive device from such a big company to be completely balked. It looks terrible just because of some shitty app practices or developer practices. Is it really that hard? I doubt it. I really doubt it. Especially when big companies like Meta and that just can't be fucking bothered. Or they just seem like they can't be bothered. I swear, TweetDeck back in the day, you could get TweetDeck on your phone and TweetDeck on your Mac and you could get TweetDeck on your iPad or something to that effect. And they were all for the thing. Sort it out. Buy on one platform, universal store, universal binary. If I want to buy something on the iPhone or the Mac, and there's an equivalent of that on one of the other platforms, let me have it. Charge more for it if you must, but let me have it. Hope you're well. I'll see you on the next one.